Hey, hey everybody, it's me. It's Mike from the Fantasy Footballers. How's everybody doing today? It's week 2. Welcome to Sunday Live, your last minute chance to ask me some start-sit questions, see me tilt, talk about some last-second news. It's just me and Judge Giamatti. Brooks himself, we're holding it down this morning. And not a ton of news with the ins and outs. They've kind of already been happening. So we'll go through those as they come up. I think the only one real pressing one, Brooks, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Antonio Brown is playing. I'm sure I'm going to see plenty of Antonio Brown questions. And then the Joe Mixon. That's the big one that people are wondering about. And he is playing, correct, Brooks? Mixon is in. He tested his ankle and he said, good enough to go. We'll see if that means that he's good enough for your fantasy team. Just want to thank everyone once again for joining us. And reminder, thank you to our studio sponsor, Pristine Auction. You get the absolute best sports memorabilia there. The signatures are always authentic. Check them out, Pristine Auction. Use that code BALLERS when you sign up. Let's get into it. All right, Remus Manuel wants to know Carson or Henry in a half-point PPR. Henry is a fine play, but at this point, you got to be fully bought into what Chris Carson is doing. He's an absolute workhorse running back. He's going to be a steal if this keeps up in the draft, where not only is he the primary running back for a run-first team, but he got a whole bunch of targets last week. If he continues to get a target share anywhere close to that, he's going to be unbelievably valuable. Michael Zieris wants to know Joe Mixon or Sony Michele. Perfect. The answer is Sony. But here's where I'm at with Joe Mixon. He had the ankle problem. He said it was trending that he was going to play, but then it turned into, well, I'm going to test my ankle at warm-ups, and then we'll see. If I have an option that I consider to be an RB2 player or better, I'm going to play him over Joe Mixon, because there's the chance of re-aggravation. There's the chance that his workload is not what you think it's going to be, and I'm trying to avoid Joe Mixon if I can. If I can't, you know what we're talking about. Let's see, a guy like Carlos Hyde, Jordan Howard, Kenyon Drake, those types of players. I'm gonna play Joe Mixon over them, but otherwise, I'm trying to do a lateral pivot to avoid at least some of the risk. Next question comes in from Nas420, who says Carnitas. Look, man, it's hard to argue with that. It's hard to argue with Carnitas, Brooks. Carnitas. Brooks says, oh, yeah. Jonathan Cortez said Hollywood Brown or Jamison Crowder. Woo, that's a toughie. That is a toughie. Hollywood Brown was sensational on his 12 snaps or whatever it was. And it was, an absolute insane production moment for the breakout rookie game, first game of his rookie career for Hollywood Brown. Crowder should still see a ton of targets just because that's how the offense is designed, even though the Smooch Bandit, Sam Darnold, will not be playing, and you're going to get Trevor Siemian. If this is a PPR and I just need that safe floor, I'm going to go with Jamison Crowder. If I'm staring down Goliath, then I'm going to play Hollywood Brown. I have him in a few spots. I'm only playing him in one. So by that I mean, if you have options, I'm not forcing Hollywood Brown into my lineup. Not yet. I'm going to see one more game, see if the snaps in fact go up. The matchup is great against Arizona. But, when a guy only plays 12 snaps, just because he catches 2 bombs, it's difficult to play him. Jerry says, Jerry from YouTube says, start Diggs or John Brown in a PPR. Wow. I'm not very high on Diggs right now. I have him in half point at 21. That is a bit higher than John Brown at this point. Let me confirm that. Yeah, so I have John Brown right around 31. John Brown definitely has the upside in this matchup against the Giants. We saw the Giants just got shellacked last week by the deep pass from Dak Prescott. I'm concerned about Diggs, man. But the thing for Diggs this week is it's not what do you believe about Minnesota. It's what do you believe about Green Bay. What do you believe about Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? Because Rodgers has not looked great now, going on a while. I mean, not just the one game from Aaron Rodgers. You're talking this. It's been a while since we've seen Rodgers really be Aaron Rodgers. So what do you believe about the Packers and their defense? Can they keep up with Minnesota? If so, then you go with Stephon Diggs. If you think that Minnesota is going to dominate again, then you go with John Brown. Let's see. KO wants to know my thoughts on Mike Williams. That's a great one. That's another good point of reference. I mean, Mike Williams, those late week non-practices are very troublesome. It certainly seemed like he was not going to play. He did get upgraded that they're saying he's going to play. And at least the reports from the media, which the media also reported that Ronald Jones was going to see an uptick in carries. But the media is talking about Mike Williams might be deployed only as a red zone option. Just off the top of my head, that reminds me of all the times that Jimmy Graham was injured. Back when he was on the Saints, there was a time period where Graham was injured. He didn't really play. They just put him in there in the red zone to score touchdowns, and that worked out frequently for Jimmy Graham. Mike Williams, to me, is not in that tier of player, though. He's not an S-tier player. I'm not playing Mike Williams. I'm trying to pivot away. If I have any options, I'm going to pivot away from Mike Williams. Sure, could Mike Williams go out there, catch 2 passes, 10 yards, but score 2 touchdowns? Absolutely. But I'm in the realm of probability, I'm pivoting away from Mike Williams if at all possible. J-Man's25 on the Periscope wants to know, Darren Goo-Goo-Gajoob, I am the Walrus, or Mark Andrews. Looks like J-Man's was scooping them up off the waiver wire. Congratulations to you for getting them both. If I have to pick between one, because they're both in great matchups, Andrews gets the Cardinals, the Walrus gets the Chiefs. I'm going to go Darren Waller. Just the safety of him being on the field at all times. And Mark Andrews had an injury problem. Like he's going to play, but he's been limited all week. And even he has said he's not 100%. He's not 100% snap type of guy. He's a big play guy. But I'm going to take the dude who's on the field the whole time and not injured this particular week. It may not be that forever. I mean, it could be Mark Andrews is just an absolute stud, but this week I'm going to go with Darren Waller. Next question. Kyle Blessing. Kyle Blessing on the YouTube wants to know Myles Sanders or Chris Thompson in a half-point PPR. Ooh. Brooks, I should have skipped this question because that's a tough one. That is a tough one. Myles Sanders, and we've talked about this on the show, on the podcast. If you have Myles Sanders and David Montgomery, it might be best to pivot away. I gave the example on the show. I drafted Shady McCoy very late because at that time he was on the Buffalo Bills. But now I'm going to play McCoy over Myles Sanders this particular week and try and find and see if there's a real uptick in Myles Sanders' usage. Chris Thompson, meanwhile, was utilized heavy once again in the passing game. A lot of it came when in that fourth quarter on the kind of the final push for Washington to try and catch up and win the game. But now you have Darius Geis is on IR, so it's Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson. Washington's going to be in some trouble, man. I think that Chris Thompson's pretty safe once again for 5 receptions. But if I have both of these guys, that's not the tier that I'm gonna play over Myles Sanders. I'm gonna go for it with Myles if that is the case with someone like Chris Thompson. David McClain on Facebook says Sony, Ingram, Burita, bench one full PPR. I'm benching Burita. It was gross with Sony Michele. The production was not there. He carried the ball 15 times. And if he carries the ball 15 times against Miami, he's not rushing for 14 yards. Meanwhile, Mark Ingram, he's a little bit banged up, but the matchup with the Cardinals, we could see the exact same game plan from the Baltimore Ravens. So I would bench Burrito. Once again, I'm Mike from the Fantasy Footballers. Thank you for joining us for Sunday Live. Me and Brooks holding it down. If you want access to the Fantasy Footballers Flex rankings, that 4-player start-sit tool, unlock all that stuff, good, an extra Footballers podcast every week. Check out jointhefoot.com. Help support the show, and it gets you a bunch of treats. Bunch of little little sweetie treaties on the weekly reg, as the kids might say. They probably don't say that, but I'm having them say it. John Booker, moving along. John Booker wants to know, James White or Matt Breida in a PPR? Oh my goodness. So I'm playing Matt Breida here against the Bengals. Just because I know the workload will be there for Breida. With James White, this matchup against Miami, it's really tough on a weekly basis to play who's going to get the Patriots role. You know that someone's going to crush, which is why these guys have value, and you kind of try to play them every week if you can. But you got Matt Breida late, congratulations, because you're already going to see the rewards from having that. So I'm going to play him knowing he has the work. And shout out to James White, who I don't know if it's his first child or not, but there was rumors that he was not going to make the trip because he's having a baby, a wee little baby. But he's there. James White is going to play. But if I have someone like Matt Breida, I'm going to play him over James White. Jarrett Mason. All right, here we go. Jarrett's on Facebook. Scary Terry McLaurin or David Montgomery in a full point. So your 4th or your 5th round pick, the rookie running back, or the new hotness off of the waiver wire, or you stashed him because you were listening to the podcast and we said you need to stash Terry McLaurin. Man, the workload for David Montgomery, does it actually go up? Man, this question sucks. I see why you asked it. All right, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. I don't know the rest of your team, but I'm probably playing Terry in this situation. I know that the full point PPR, like Montgomery only had the 1 reception. Matt Nagy could keep forcing Mike Davis into the game. It's in the realm of possibilities. But what we do know about Terry is he's going to be on the field the whole time for Washington. And he's got the one playability to just be one punch man, knock out a full fantasy week's worth of points in one play, and then be a PPR guy as well. Get some real targets. So I'm going to go a little bit against the grain there. I'm going to put Scary Terry into my lineup. Connor Higgins, PPR, flex, Darren Wallerus or Josh Gordon. So this is a fantastic question because I'll pivot here for just a second. What are people doing with Antonio Brown? I am benching him. I'm not playing Antonio Brown if I have the option. If I have to put that line of what do I consider him, I consider Antonio Brown a flex play. But we're talking about basically the hardest playbook in the NFL for a wide receiver to learn. He's had 3 practices. They're playing the Miami Dolphins. There's this shroud of off-the-field stuff. There's the news this morning coming out that Robert Kraft saying if he knew about these allegations, he would not have signed Antonio Brown. I mean, everything is just an absolute disaster this current weekend for Antonio Brown, besides the fact that he's playing for Tom Brady and playing against the Miami Dolphins. I blame no one. Like, if your process is play Antonio Brown, go for it. Mine is I'm not going with that risk. I'm not plugging him in when they could just manhandle Miami, not need Antonio Brown at all. How many snaps is he actually going to get? Josh Gordon, when they traded for Gordon, he was inactive the first week, and then he had to earn snaps as it went along. And they don't need Antonio Brown this week. It would really surprise me if Antonio Brown puts up any sort of fantasy-worthy line. So back to the question. Darren Waller, who I love Darren Waller so much this weekend, or Josh Gordon. And Josh Gordon, of course, if anyone's really affected, it's going to be Josh Gordon and Philip Dorsett. Like, Julian Edelman is safe. You play him, no problem. It's really, really hard to flex a tight end over somebody like Josh Gordon. But I would. That's how much my algorithms, that's how much my research and everything loves Darren Waller this week. He's on the field the whole time. He's going to play in the slot. He's going to see an inferior slot DB when he is there. And the matchup is just so great. And Derek Carr plays well at home against the Chiefs. At least he has in the past couple years of history. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I would flex Darren Waller and play 2 tight ends, and that sounds really gross. Well, I'm really salvacious today, Brooks. Got a lot of saliva flowing. I don't know what's happening. Is that a word? Salvacious? Salivacious?
It is now.
That's right, because that's how we do it. Because you know what I meant when I said I'm feeling very salivacious. Everyone knows what I mean. Doesn't matter if it's a real word or not, because it is now. Robbie Russo says, carry on Johnson or Sony. Michele, my fitness consigliere. Oh, my goodness. Carry on was such a disappointment last week. I do believe that Kerryon Johnson has much, much better days ahead. I think Detroit just, the game plan, they knew it. They knew they could crush Arizona through the air. So why really bother? Why bother with the run game when you can just dominate vertical or in the vertical passing game? Oh, I'm going to play. Look, I think that both of them have the workload variables where just for whatever reason, you might see the other running backs on the field. But Sony Michele has 3 touchdown upside this particular week against the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to let that make my decision. I'm going to go for the ceiling. I'm going to play Sony Michele over Kerryon Johnson. Chubb E Gaming on Twitch. Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady. That is unfortunate. Unfortunate timing to have to make a decision between those 2 quarterbacks. Brady is my number 2. Lamar Jackson's my number 3 on the week. I'm going to play. I mean, the rankings say Tom Brady, but honestly, if I had Lamar Jackson, that's who I would play. I feel, I feel great about both these guys, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. I'm trying to pit my number 2 and number 3 on the week against each other. So I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go with the guy who can run. We didn't get to see it at all last week because we didn't need to see it. We didn't need to see it because he was balling out, just chucking the ball down the field. Arizona, Arizona, what to make of that team who was terrible for 3 quarters and then great for a quarter and a half? I think that they got some things figured out and will be better this week against the Ravens. And they'll put up a fight. Miami's not going to put up a fight. I know I'm taking the points with Andy, and Andy's a crazy person. He's like defending the Dolphins, but he's right. I'm still taking those points. Having said all that, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for dealing with my I'm just going to keep making up words. My perpetude of salivaciousness. But do I sound real smart when I'm doing it? Is that a 5? Yeah. We got a 5er. All right. Brooks is trying to get me off the microphone before I say something real dumb. Too late. Chris Kobeck. Chris, come on, Chris. Deshaun Jackson or Devontae Adams. Come on, man. Get upright. Flip around. You've tilted off the planet, my friend. I get it. I understand the tilt. Week 1 tilt. It is real. I have done it myself. Come on, you got to play Devontae Adams. You got to do it. Beast Mode ZZXD. Robbie Anderson or Tyler Lockett. I'm going to stick with Tyler Lockett there as well. Next question coming in. Oh, so here we go. This is something we should talk about. So, Aju on Periscope says, are you worried about Bell? No. But this is football. This is fantasy football. If you have Le'Veon Bell, and you have an expendable player, you pick up Ty Montgomery. That's what I do right now because I fully expect him to play, but every year there's at least one or two scenarios where a player is trending to play, everything is fine, and then right before game time there's just an alert goes out, holy crap, they aren't playing. And you can't be caught with your pants down on a Monday night because Le'Veon Bell all of a sudden is out. You want to have that option. If you don't have any, you literally have no one you can drop, you have no space, then this is an instance where I'm going to take the risk. I'm not going to flex somebody in on Sunday because Le'Veon Bell might be out. But I'm really trying to get a backup plan for Le'Veon Bell. I mean, it's like a 98% chance that he plays, but just like the lottery, sometimes improbable odds do hit, and you just got to be careful out there. Oh, Metal Mass 3 says, a hot take, the Dolphins win by a deuce. As in like a poop? Like they win because they poop on the field? And then the game is waved off? Because that's about it. J-Dog 8705, Bell or Josh Jacobs in standard. Here we go. Now this is what I'm talking about. That is a really difficult decision. Take that 2% risk that I was talking about and play Bell, or do you play Josh Jacobs in standard? It's wild to me that you have a lineup where you can't cram them both in there. Man, Brooks, are you taking the risk with Le'Veon Bell?
Jacobs is a great enough option. I'd go
Would
Jacobs
you?
there. Yeah, I think so.
Man, that's a really tough question. I mean, Jacobs he's a great play this week, standard against the Chiefs. I love the Raiders' offense as a whole. Maybe Carr gets the touchdowns. Maybe Josh Jacobs gets the touchdowns. Personally, if it was my team, I'd ride it out. I'm over here warning people. You guys got to be careful, and I'm like,
But only if you're able to get Ty Montgomery, right?
I don't know.
Oh boy.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing with my advice now, Brooks. I'm playing. Oh man, unfortunate situation. All right, Aaron Holmes, half-point PPR, Tyler Lockett, or Damian Williams. Also, Aaron Holmes did all caps, so he wants me to know that this question is very important. He is text shouting into my face. I am going to play. Man. So Tyler Lockett gets the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, man. My rule on Damian Williams so far has been I'm playing him until the Chiefs show me a reason that I should not play Damian Williams. I'm like, this could be the week, and then I'm going to adjust accordingly. But until then, Damian Williams was the passing work guy. He was the red zone guy. So even though Tyler Lockett's a hot Lockett, he's a hot choice, I'm going to play Damian Williams over. I'm going to take the running back for the highest scoring team in the league over the player that just got 2 targets. He's going to get more than 2 targets. But that still happened, and that still can happen. All right. Oh, crap. All right, I'm going to try and do as many as I can. Matt Hard, Hawkinson or Andrews in half-point PPR. I'm going to play Andrews. Dana Shepard, Marvin Jones or Robbie Anderson. I'm going to play Robbie Anderson there. Dan Taylor, Baker or Stafford. I'm going to play Baker. The Maurice Alexander, Boyd or Lockett. I'm going to play Lockett. All right, last question of the day goes to Jimmy FN, Sony Michele or Duke Johnson. I'm going to go with Sony Michele. And okay, here we go. It went away. Sorry. Derek Folkert says Joe Mixon or Gio. That's a perfect question to get out of here on because I'm so sorry we don't have enough time for me to answer that question. No, I'm just kidding. If I have both, honestly, I'm going to play Mixon. It's really hard to give advice on that one because I don't know the shape that Joe Mixon ankle's actually in. I don't know what magic things they can do in the NFL to make your ankle not hurt for the stretch of 3 hours. I know they can do things like that. So, but if I have the two, there's no way I'm playing Gio Bernard over Joe Mixon. It's just not going to happen. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Sunday Live. I wish you no tilting on this magical Sunday. Wishing your teams nothing but the best. We will see you tomorrow on the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to check out our good friends, our great friends at Pristine Auction, if you want to get an autographed jersey, an autographed helmet. And remember, you are all beautiful. Mwah! Goodbye, everybody. See you next Sunday.